hello everyone. I'm Sylvia Cox. I'm the Executive Vice President at Southeastern Community College. And today we have an amazing treat because we're here at South Columbus High School with Columbus County Schools Teacher of the Year, Mr. Jimmy Price. So Jimmy, we're so glad that you're here with us today.
Glad to be here.
That's great. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about your excellent career in teaching, a little bit about why teaching is so important, and give everyone a little insight into your world and the amazing things that you do with your students.
Great.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about is what is it like to be in Mr. Price's amazing class? Give us a sample of what it would be like if we were in your classroom.
Well, my students would probably say unnerving sometimes, I'm sure, because there's so much that goes on in a day. But, you know, I teach 3 different classes. You know, people say, well, how many preps do you have? I have 3 every day, because the first one is the beginning vocal, like a class voice setting. And then I have a main attraction, we call it main, M-A-N-E, like the mane of a horse for the stallion,
Right.
because we're the main attraction, of course, you know. And that's my advanced choral ensemble. And then I have a piano lab. So it's a little different for each one, but it's just dynamic. You know, the kids, I try to build leadership skills in the students. So from that first level to that second level, it's a whole different ball game. They come in and they're expected to know exactly what to do. You know, they have to do sight singing. They have to learn to really read. They become literate musicians here. It's not just a show choir. You know, we actually do teach those micro skills that they need, those soft skills, to be able to work in the world of work today and to go on to post-secondary education. So, you know, just a lot of teamwork and team building, a lot of transitional things. It's not just students sitting around me leading, being the sage on the stage, so to speak. It's actually them leading. So they're in groups, and the older students facilitate the younger students. So it's really dynamic, diverse environment. So much more than the classroom of 50 years ago, you know. So much. It's good in some ways, and then it's harder in some ways. But there's some good there, and I hope my students get something out of that.
So, you know, before we started this, we were talking about what incredible. I was a teacher, a classroom teacher. But for me, looking over in a music room, I thought I had challenges, but I could not imagine how students would come in with no experience, not being able to read music. Many of your students, I'm sure, come to you with none of that background, and yet you're able to do extremely amazing things with them. So how do you tackle working with a student that does come to you with no experience at all and get them to a just whole different place by the end of a semester?
Well, I take my experience in elementary school and bring it up to high school, because I was so used to working in small groups and transitioning, and it's sometimes hard for the older students, the teachers of those older students, to get the idea that we need to be in those small groups. But that's how I function on a day-to-day basis. I feel like those students, the ones that are adept, that have been with me, that are juniors and seniors, they are so able to almost, I've worked myself out of a job part of the way, because they're able to do a lot of what I can do with them. They may not understand all of the theory behind the practice, but they can put into practice some of the things that we do. So I feel like that is very important, to be able to facilitate these new students, just like today during our remediation period, which is known as SWAG here at South Columbus. We had some freshman students here that really haven't had a lot of experiences. And so one of my seniors took one of those students and worked on sight reading skills while I was working with a student on a college application. And another student was over here practicing their prelude for a piano lab, and another student was working on the minutes for our choral council meeting yesterday. She was inputting those into Google Drive. So that's just the type of things that are happening every day, and those students are able to build those skills because, you know, iron sharpens iron. And if you want quality and really good results, you have to demand that and expect that. And I don't let up. That's what they'll say. He never lets up. My students in piano lab will always say, this is my hardest class. And they've got trigonometry. And I think, okay, why is that? It's tough to learn an instrument,
Right.
but it's also different when you never are there. You're always striving for excellence. You always strive. There's not getting a problem right. It's, oh, I really got that phrase really well, but there's another phrase to get then. So that's sort of how it works. And you really have to wax those students, wax and wane and wax and wane. You know how to push them and then let off, and then push them and let off. But by the end of 4 years here, those students should be ready to move on. If they want to pursue a minor or a major in music, great. If they don't want to, at least they're educated. They're educated in the art and science of music, so they can be just good listeners and good consumers of music,
And there's so much research around that those skills to play really excellent music transcend into lots of things. In fact, when we were teaching young students to read, they equated it with being able to play a sheet of music, because a great musician doesn't master it one time and go, oh great, I'm never going to play that song again, I'm moving on, right? You go back to it, and every time you go back to it, you get better and better and better. And so I think that is something amazing that the arts does for students, is to help them in a living, breathing way see the importance of going back to something, and as you go back to it, getting better and better. And of course, holding them to a high standard is just what we want them to do. And when students can go and you have been able to show them all of this, and they take the lead, then that's perfect, because that's great teaching.
Exactly. And one of my big quotes that I'll always say is, the students will be beside me at the piano, and I'll say, and in the choir, in the choral setting, I'll say, don't practice it till you get it right. Practice it until you can't get it wrong. Because
amazing.
that makes that automaticity and that solid learning from mastery, and that's the difference. That's what makes it so hard for them.
And that's where we all should be striving, is for students to become masters of their craft, whatever we're teaching them. So that's so great. So tell me, have you ever had a moment or a time in your career that you thought, did I make the right choice? Is teaching really for me?
Yes, about once a year. I think we all do.
Absolutely.
And it's usually not, and I'll say I've been very blessed in Columbus County. I don't think I've ever had students that weren't students. How do I say that and make it make sense to the viewers? If you've never been in a classroom before, there's a difference in a student who is a student and a student who thinks they are above the teacher. And and a lot of the times you find that, but you see that on all of these movies and the way they portray teachers this day and time. I really have a problem with the way they portray teachers wearing t-shirts and jeans in the classroom. That's not teaching today, not where I teach. We're professionals. We come, we're degreed, licensed professionals, and we act like it, and we treat our students like it, and they treat us like that. So I have an issue with the mainstream Hollywood elitist way of thinking that teaching is being deprofessionalized in a lot of circles. However, the students that see us every day know that they either really like their job or they really don't like their job. So when I come in every day, I try to put that persona to show them that there is something about this that's good. When I think about all of the extra duties, not the classroom, that can really put a damper on teaching. That can really throw a stick in the spokes of your flow, if you want to, say, well, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And it has nothing to do with my students. But if we really focus on our why and think about, why am I here? It's the students that sit right where we're sitting every day.
That's right.
That is where that's why I'm here. And doing the Teacher of the Year. I'm going for, I think on the October 12th, I have my regional interview. I've already submitted all the paperwork. And then I go for the state if I happen to get regional. And then that's a year off out of the classroom where you go and you're the ambassador for education. Well, my son is in my advanced group. And he told me, he said, you can't do that. And I said, what do you mean? He said, no, you can't leave. Because if you leave, then we'll lose everything. It really hit me. I said, okay, well, I'm doing something right. For my own son to say, you can't leave. Because he's a sophomore, and most sophomores in high school are like, no, don't come around me. And he's like that to a certain extent, but there's something good that's happening here if he wants me here. So those times when I think about all those extra duties, yeah, why am I here? What am I doing? I could be doing this, I could be doing that, but none of that appeals to me. What appeals to me is these students, because who else is going to do it? I mean, we need teachers. I mean, everybody says, don't be a teacher. Why?
Why not?
Why not be a teacher?
Right. And so I think everybody has a doubt, and that's
Oh,
normal.
yes.
But
Yes.
if you don't, you're walking through that journey, you don't realize it's normal. So why should, in a world where there's thousands and millions and possibilities of what I could do as a career, why be a teacher, and why be a teacher here in Columbus County Schools?
Well, I'll tell you this, in Columbus County, you've got to, I feel like if we grow our own, that's the power we're going to have. We're so close to so many things,
That's right.
yet so far away. We're close to Fayetteville and Myrtle Beach and the whole Grand Strand and Wilmington, and even Raleigh and Charleston and Columbia, all those areas that are not too far away, but yet we're still that little spot on the map. 954 miles, I believe it is, square miles that is, of just loveliness in so many ways. And that's why I feel like out of all that we could do, I think back on my college days and what would I have wanted to study other than education. I don't really know. I studied music, I studied English, I studied history, all of these things, and they're great, but they all brought me back to teaching as the practice that I wanted to employ all of those things in. And if you love where you are and you love what you do, people say you'll never work a day in your life. Well, that's a lie. You will work. You will work. I should say that's a misnomer, because you'll enjoy it so much that you'll feel fulfilled at the end of the day. And you may fall in bed exhausted, but you'll get up the next day and say, I can do this again. I get to do this again. And not every day's a shouting day. Today wasn't. But yesterday was, and I'm expecting tomorrow to be, something along those lines too. So that's where I say, and I have students who will always come and say, the first thing they say is, how much do you make?
Oh, wow.
They always ask me that.
Oh, wow.
And I'll say, enough. And I show them the salary schedule. And I'll say, but no matter, if you chase $1, you will never be happy, because there will never be enough. And there'll always be a lacking, and you'll always spend more than you make. But if you are frugal and you know how to live, you can still have nice things, and you can live within your means and be happy, because happiness transcends all of that. It transcends stuff. And that's why I think teaching in general is a great career. It's been good to me and my family. My wife teaches. My daughter's an education major. She'll be teaching in a couple years. And my son, I don't know about him. We'll see. But all he worries about is football and music right now. But we'll see how that goes. We're trying to grow our own at our house.
Absolutely, and we're trying to grow on here in
Yes.
Columbus County. So it has been a pleasure to talk to you. What you're doing for this whole community and what you're doing here at South Columbus is incredible. And I just invite all of our viewers to come out and see you and to
Anytime.
see your performances and to watch your amazing students, because they are the things that they're exclamation mark on the work that you do.
Oh, yes.
And you are touching lives every day, and we're so excited for you, and congratulations. And this year, no matter what happens, you're an ambassador for Columbus County Schools, and you're an inspiration to all your fellow teachers and all those future teachers that are looking at you. And so
Yes.
we applaud you, because we know that it takes a lot of work to make the magic that happens, and all the different things you were talking about. It takes a lot of work on the prep end to make that happen.
Really does.
And we really applaud everything you're doing. So we thank you so much. We're excited about being here today, and thanks for letting us come down to South Columbus today.
We're glad to have you all. And our Christmas show is our next big thing. It will be our Stallion Christmas Spectacular. It is the 15th of December here at South Columbus. We'll have a dinner theater. Tickets go on sale in late around Thanksgiving. And we would love to have the entire county here because it's almost like a Alabama Theater, Carolina Opry type show. So we always like to put our students out and really show the community what we have here.
That's great. Well, that sounds like an exciting opportunity. Thanks so much. You all need to check that out. Come out to South Columbus. You don't even have to go to Myrtle Beach to get an amazing experience. And you'll probably see someone you know, and you'll get an opportunity to see an amazing teacher here in our school system. So we're so glad you watched. Look forward to seeing you again soon.